installment of the Designated Players podcast. I'm here with a handful of guys from Mount Royal Soccer from SB Nation. I've got Alexi, I've got Javier, I've got Noah, I've got Ronnie. I'm Matthew. Today we're going to talk about a variety of different topics in the football world, especially the Montreal Impact. First of all, last week we had the kind pleasure of participating in an indoor soccer tournament with the Can FC guys. How did that go for you, Noah?
I survived, which was key.
Yeah, you had a little bit of trouble breathing.
I think I knew going in that was my goal, was just to not die. So mission accomplished. We did not win a game, but we had good spirits. Can we all agree on that?
Oh yeah.
Most of us did not get terribly injured, but that's because we had a lot more other guys who actually none of us really knew, but they actually could play soccer quite well.
There were a couple of injuries, yeah. Alexi, describe to me the injuries that we took on.
Oh, we weren't bad. I wasn't. Noah. Most people wisely sat out that last game. You got assaulted by the soccer ball that took out your nose, and you spent the next 5 enjoyable minutes searching for that all over the pitch.
This is correct.
Good way to spend 5 minutes.
Yeah, so I got hit in the face with a soccer ball that knocked out my nose ring. I was so angry that I tried to convince the rest of the team, successfully, by the way, to get on their hands and knees trying to find my nose jewelry. And that was the end of my day, after I also pulled my quad doing the same thing. So all that to say, it was a fantastic event by Can FC and the Twin crew. That was at Soccer 5, by the way. In Hush Like That. Yeah, we had a good time. And hopefully we'll be able to do it again in the next couple months. Now, moving on from, old washed-up hippies that should never step foot on a soccer pitch ever again, let's talk about the Canadian men's national team, shall we? We had some big news that happened last week where we got rid of Benito Floro as a head coach. We now at least have a name of an interim head coach, Michael Finley, which we know very, very little about. What do you guys think about getting rid of Floro? I know we've talked about this a lot on our chats and things like that and on the website. How about you, Javier? What do you think?
Well, to me, getting rid of the coach is really relatively minor to try to fix the entire problem in terms of Soccer Canada. To me, the fundamental issue with Soccer Canada comes at a grassroots level, where if you compare it to any other program here in Canada, especially Hockey Canada, it's just terribly run. And I guess that's what they hired Jason DeVos to do. I think his new position is the technical director of development at a youth level, I believe. And I hope he's able to change it, to model it after Hockey Canada. Instead of having a province-wide governing each soccer association, why not have Canada govern it from the grassroots level? This way everyone's working with the same formations, same things. This way we can get a national team that's capable of competing at the elite level.
What about this new guy? What about Michael Finley? Do we know anything about this guy? I know he's been involved in the organization in the past, but I don't know anything really that much about him.
Listen, he was named as interim coach for a reason, and all coaches technically are interim, but he was specifically named interim because someone else is going to come in. And to me, having someone that's been in the organization is a better idea than bringing some guy from who knows where to try to implement his playing style. It doesn't matter if we have the best soccer coach of all time, the Bill Belichick of soccer, if you will. The team will go nowhere because they're now how old? There's older players, there's younger players now learning an entire new system. Why not have someone bring them up like they do in many other countries and then coach them at the national level later on?
And Alexi, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I'd have to agree. The problem is not only the coaching, because we don't have the players. You can have an amazing coach, as Javier said, but you still need the players to be able to perform on the pitch. And if you look at the population of Canada, 35 million people, and we have a lot of kids playing soccer. And it's not that we're we might be a bit less talented, but we still have enough. If we can bring kids up, if we can follow them the proper way, we can have some talent, maybe not now, but Soccer Canada still in its building stage. We were hoping to make the Hex now, but I'm not sure that's really realistic because we have a mix of old veterans who kind of had enough talent to make it somewhere else, and now we're starting to see the first MLS players make it, but what also I don't think helps is the fact that the MLS, if you're a Canadian player playing with an American team, you're considered to be a foreign player and you take up a foreign roster spot. So you're competing against the rest of the world. And that, I think, is part of the problem with developing players.
Right. I mean, yeah, that was a topic that was big on all the blogs last week, especially this idea that Canadian players, when they do come up into the league, if they do sign with an American MLS team, they're considered like an international, which basically limits the amount of spots any Canadian player can get, which is basically the complete opposite of why MLS teams are in Canada in the first place, seemingly. Ronnie, did you read that as well?
Yeah, saw that. Like you guys were saying, it's like it starts somewhere, like, you know, with the coaching, but also the players. We're kind of somewhere in between right now, where it's like, you know, a lot was expected of Floro, and just didn't happen. I mean, we all saw it with his alignments. I mean, everybody was scratching their heads. You know, like we gave the benefit of the doubt for a couple of years, kept hoping for more. I mean, he's got the pedigree, but just didn't happen. Didn't produce.
I mean, you can see that in the El Salvador game that we watched. What was it, 2 weeks ago now? Yeah, exactly. Where we ended up having to, you know, wish for good luck in the Mexican game and also score an equivalent of 6 goals cumulatively, right? Well, the guys looked good. They looked like they had energy. They played probably the most offensive football that I've seen in years from the team, and yet assuming everybody knew that was Floro's last game, knowing we wouldn't reach the heads. Noah, do you want a last note on the Canadian men's national team?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I generally agree with what everybody has to say. I just feel like Floro never really meshed with any of the younger players, gave them a chance. Kind of decided at some point that he was going with.
Oh, we lost Noah.
Yeah.
We lost Noah. Yeah,
Hello?
hold on. Your internet connection's all funky.
Oh, shoot.
I can kind of hear you okay. But I think what basically you were trying to say was this idea that, yeah,
Can you hear me now?
keep talking. I think you're good.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so I would just go back to what I was saying. I just felt like, Floro kind of went with the older guys at some points, and he never really gave anyone else a chance. So, yeah, that's that kind of has set things in motion from that point on. And then after that, sorry, am I still there? My video is
You're
off
good.
now.
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
No, sorry.
That's
Sorry, the subbing is wrong on my video. It's kind of just throwing me off.
Your audio's fine.
Yeah, your audio's fine.
Continue. Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. No, but basically, to sum up, what we were talking about was basically, I mean, we never saw anything of any promise from Floro, or at least the squads that he was managing. Is that to say that we had the talent that he mismanaged? Probably minimally, although we can all agree that there were some pretty bad late changes, his substitutions and his tactics were a little off, or at least that we could disagree with. So hopefully this is obviously I think we can all agree this is a good decision by the Canadian men's national team, and I hope that we have some good news in the near future to talk about that, although we do have a few months before the next qualifier. Yeah, sorry, Noah?
Yeah, I just add one more thing. Basically, I just feel like there's plenty of good, really good young players in the system, and I feel like going forward, the next coach, because clearly this Michael Finley, is that his name?
That's right.
Finley, yes.
Probably won't have anything to do with the next installments, I'm guessing, of the Canadian national team. I just think it's integral to really include the up-and-comers into the new team. And as you guys were saying earlier, it's all about having a coach who is bringing these 18, 19-year-olds along at the beginning phase, and then, you know, when we actually have a real opportunity of qualifying for the Hex and actually making the World Cup, they'll all be at a good age, like around 22, to really compete. So, you know, people are saying like, oh, you know, we missed it on the golden age of Canadian team. But I think the golden age is coming. You know, the last phase of players we had, you know, there was a couple that were, you know, good quality players like Hutchison in our field, I guess, though he never didn't play much. But the next bunch of kids coming up, I have confidence that they're going to actually make some noise.
Yeah, I think that's a great place to end it off too on that topic, because we also are seeing a lot of advancement with the academy system now with the MLS. We've given the Canadian teams a significant amount of years to get prepped and get themselves comfortable with it. So hopefully we'll see a lot more Canadian names, Canadian young guys come up through that system. So this part of the podcast is brought to you by White Wine. We're going to do a roundabout for the international leagues. We're going to try and cover anything that we have any personal experience with or something that we research on a regular basis. We got Javier that's going to be looking at La Liga. Noah's going to be looking at EPL, and I'm surely a lot of us are going to be joining in on that as well. Alexi as well. I'm going to try and mention a couple of things about the Bundesliga, which is one of the leagues that I like to focus on. And we'll see where we go. So Javier, what happened this past week in La Liga?
Well, it was another classic La Liga weekend where you have the big gunners in Barcelona, Atleti, and Real Madrid absolutely decimating their opponents. Of course, they were playing recently promoted sides, so of course it would end in a complete demolishing. Real Madrid, of course, did it without Bale and without Ronaldo, which is quite impressive, even though they were playing a team with subpar talent, but still play without some arguably two best players and still smash a team that's pretty impressive. After the weekend, it leaves the standings pretty the same as every week. You have Real undefeated at the top, followed by the classic superpowers in terms of Barcelona, Atleti, and Sevilla. For those listeners looking for a dark horse team, or Leicester City of Spain, I guess you could say, keep your eyes on Las Palmas, who is a team that was recently promoted and had a curious signing in Kevin Prince Boateng during the summer transfer window. They're holding down third place right now, tied with Barcelona, 11 goals for. Listen, anything can happen, as Leicester proved last year. The league, all in all, is likely going to come down to a team in Atleti, Real, and Barcelona. And we all know whoever comes out the winner out of those games is probably going to win the league. Barcelona and Atleti do have their first game of the season tomorrow, so that is something to look forward to in La Liga.
Wicked. Thank you for that. What a great recap. Yeah, that was pretty good. Anybody else want to chime in on that? Anybody catch any of the La Liga action or have any general complaints about their structure and how two teams always win?
I don't watch La Liga. I just feel like it's just massacres after massacres. I want to be proved wrong. I want to see something else happen, but it never does.
It's all about the Clásico.
It's all about El Clásico. That's right, Ronnie. When's our first El Clásico?
Sometime in November, I believe.
Yes. Yeah.
Wait, our first El Clásico?
No. As in La Liga's first El Clásico.
I've never played soccer again.
Alexi, what were you gonna say?
I also find it disappointing that our sports channels over here don't show anything other than MLS and EPL. We don't see any City A, we don't see any La Liga, and we don't see any League One Française. EPL is great. It's great teams, great competition, but a bit of variety would be amazing as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, go ahead, Noah.
I think they do show Bundesliga every once in a blue moon, or they were.
I think I see it on like Fox or something, but it's like whenever Munich plays Dortmund.
Whenever Munich plays Dortmund, really?
I think I saw that one once.
Jeez. I'd be lucky if I could catch a Bundesliga game on any of our cable channels. But anyways, just stream it like everybody else. What about the EPL this past weekend? There were a couple of boring games, nothing really spectacular except for on Friday, I guess, right, Noah?
I mean, there was some interesting things. The Liverpool-Chelsea, that was on Friday, was it not?
Yeah.
I mean, whenever Chelsea loses, that's a pretty cool day.
Just for the record, any listeners, let's set this straight. Now, no, it wasn't Arsenal. I'm a spike side.
We got a 2v2 battle royale.
Ronnie.
A video cut out there. Audio cut out there somewhere. I missed part of it.
What EPL team are you a fan of?
I'm a big fan of the game. Honestly, there's so many teams I follow. I love them all. I mean, come on.
Oh, no.
There's no one team. I love the league. I absolutely love the league. I can watch any game. It's like I love the Liverpool Chelsea game.
Ah,
Anything that's there's teams I love to hate. I love to hate Chelsea's system,
there you go.
regardless of the coach. I mean, but I still love Conte. But I mean, it's just the team's system. It's got to go. Besides that, I mean, I like the Manchester teams. It's great games. It's great sports. It's awesome. It's the best league in the world.
Ronnie,
Best
I
league
don't
in the
know
world.
how we're going to be able to deal with this. We've got 2 Spurs fans, we got 2 Arsenal fans, and somebody who just respects the game.
Absolutely.
We will break-
Absolutely.
This is the only way we're going to be able to keep balance.
He's not in it to choose a team. He's here to break the wheel. That's what he's here for.
Okay, Noah, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Okay, so Liverpool won 2-1. Jordan Henderson scored a screamer of a goal. Good for him. Chelsea's defense on the first goal was apparently horrendous, which is a little bit strange because I thought they had a good defense. And yeah, the only guy who really seems to be running on that team is Conte, not to be confused with Conte, the coach. Arsenal beat Hull 4-1. The highlight of the game for me was when Alexis Sanchez decided to take the penalty, even though Cazorla has taken both penalties this year and scored on both of them, and Sanchez then missed the penalty. So that was interesting. Walcott wasn't horrible. That kind of stuck out for me. And yeah, that's kind of it for that game. Leicester beat Burnley. The highlight of the game for me was that a guy named Islam Slimani scored 2 goals. I just love his name. Islam's
First 2
great.
goals with Leicester.
I'm gonna name my kid Jew. Then City, Manchester City beat Bournemouth 4-0. I'm gonna say Guardiola. I don't know, coach of the year so far. He seems unstoppable, or City does, anyways. It just seems like his style of play is just bringing out all the best from all his players. I didn't really rate Guardiola all that much. I just thought he had really awesome players wherever he played, but City just look a cut above everybody right now. West Brom beat West Ham 4-2. West Ham, what's the deal with West Ham this year? They were pretty good last year. Is Slaven Bilic on the hot seats? Stay tuned on that one. And the best news of the week. Watford 3, United 1. What a great game.
Right.
What a fantastic, fantastic game. So Mourinho apparently is already throwing his players under the bus. This is fantastic. This is like Chelsea all over again from last year. Apparently Paul Pogba, the guy they signed for like £400 million.
Whoa.
Can confirm.
100%.
Can confirm.
Can't confirm. Apparently he had he lost his man completely on Watford's second goal, and now there's talk about Rooney, should not be on the team or not in the starting 11. It's just everything is just fantastic about what's happening with United.
Geez, not biased at all. Noah, nice. Okay.
What's that?
Not biased at all. We know where you stand.
Oh yeah, I know. This is the fun segment for me. And Spurs won, but no one really cares about that. And that's it.
Hey.
Yay, Spurs.
Well, in the Spurs game, I can just mention Harry Kane is out for probably 2 months.
Yes.
Which
Sorry.
Is,
I'm not sorry.
no. So,
But
Well,
they have a
look-
fantastic replacement in
yes.
Vincent Janssen.
The Dutch.
So that could be what spurs them forward.
Hilarious, Noah.
Terrible.
Just went there.
Terrible.
Well, thank you for that unbiased recap there, Noah. Did anybody else see anything this weekend in the EPL that they wanted to mention? I know, for example, I was in Toronto and I caught the Bournemouth game because I got some family in Bournemouth. That was also particularly boring. But I have to admit, watching Manchester lose did something to my heart. It was a pleasure. I was sitting at a bar with another Manchester United fan. So much pleasure to be had. I'll jump onto the Bundesliga if that's all right.
Oh, sure, go ahead.
All right. Well, Bundesliga is very similar to La Liga, except for having much better talent.
It's not bullshit. That is not bullshit.
Yeah. Well, this past weekend was nothing new. You had Bayern that beat Ingolstadt 3-1, and then you had Dortmund that beat Darmstadt 6-0, which was, to be honest, just frankly like an international friendly between Argentina and the Falkland Islands. But there is a couple of big games coming up. One in particular is tomorrow. Tomorrow you have Bayern versus Berlin, and right now the top three teams in the table are it starts Dortmund, Bayern, then Berlin, and you even have Eintracht, who has always been a middle of the pack. And I know we're only in the third week here, but all four of those teams are currently undefeated. Pretty exciting stuff. I'd like to see Berlin get up there and put on a show against Bayern. Aside from that, the only real news that's relevant to us coming out of the Bundesliga is talk about Pulisic, our American boy, the starlet that is being covered in every single American soccer blog, it seems. And there's some talk about whether or not he's getting enough playing time. There's talk about whether he should come to the MLS. Another big change happened today when it was announced that he was listed on the allocation draft list, which the date is to be determined about that. I, to be honest, don't think it's a good idea to pull this guy away from European football. I think the best place to cater to that kind of talent, you have to admit he is good. Is he incredible? No. Could he be? Maybe he could be incredible for American soccer, but I think the best way to advance is probably to keep him over there and playing with some of the best players in the world. What do you guys think?
I don't see why not. I mean, as an Arsenal fan, they have a player, Gideon Zalalem, been in Europe for 2.5 years now. They don't seem to be talking about needing to bring him back. I don't see any point in Julian Green with Bayern. I don't see what the difference is, honestly. Like, aren't they all around the same age, 18, 19 years old?
That's right. Yeah.
What is Pulisic much better than them? I don't really see what the debate is. If these guys are good enough to have an opportunity to play, like Pulisic is probably playing like on their academy team every once in a while. Like, he's getting playing time. He's not just being left out of the 18 every week.
No, not at all. Not at all. And actually, if anything, he started last week.
Well, there you go. So it's perfect. Yeah, I would leave him there 100%. And, well, just because, let's face it, he plays for, well, it doesn't really matter. He plays for a good German team, I assume?
Dortmund.
Leave him in Dortmund's system. Let him grow. Like, they're going to teach him the game of soccer way better than he'll learn over here. I don't think anyone can really debate that.
I don't think so either, but there's a lot of talk going on right now amongst MLS supporters that they'd love to see him come home. But it's like, love to see him come home. It's like he had hardly enough time to be homesick. He's been away for like a year and a half.
Seems like a trend, though. There's more and more of them coming back, I think. Big push for having back home.
Well, Ronnie, are they coming back because MLS has gotten better, or are they coming back because they feel like they've done enough abroad?
Or maybe it's the money, maybe it's, I don't know, build up the sport. Who knows? I don't know. I just, personally, I kind of see it like you're saying. I think they're better off in Europe. I think they'll learn more, they'll develop better. I think it's positive.
Yeah,
and I think the key is we were talking about coaches earlier. I just feel like, until we prove on this side of the ocean that we actually have the academies and the coaches who actually can make players into something special, like, until that actually happens, if I'm a 17 to 21-year-old, I want to learn from the best. I want to improve from people who actually can teach me something. So, I mean, if you're in this Pulisic's shoes, I mean, why would he want to stay here?
There's no reason to stay here, and I'm in complete agreement with you guys that his best move is to stay in Europe and train with those academies. But a question needs to be brought up, and that is he best off at Dortmund? Because Dortmund is a premier club in Germany. And we were discussing before, or Matt was discussing before, how, yes, he's good. Is he incredible? No, not yet at least. Is he good enough to play for Dortmund regularly? And to develop as a young player, you need playing time. It's not about, oh, I'm training with the best. as much as beneficial as that may be, it's probably best to send him on loan somewhere. Regardless of where that is, it doesn't matter. Different leagues are more beneficial for different skills. But I think he needs to get the most playing time possible in order to develop to what American fans want him to be.
Well, I think that's a really good point, Javier, because, what also triggered this is there was some talk today about how Dortmund is not, or at least did not respond to questions about signing him an extension for him, because I think whatever sort of quote-unquote entry-level contract he has signed with them is expiring soon. But again, the Dortmund coach came out something like last week being asked a question by Fox Soccer, if I remember correctly, about him and about whether or not he's going to get more playing time because he's shown himself to be so good. The coach responded, he said, he's a great player. He's at Dortmund, but his recent performance that has been so amazing has been against two teams from the Caribbean.
There you go.
You know, like, sure, let the Americans lose their mind a little bit and let the fan base sort of build up some support around this particular player. But over there, this guy's like everybody else.
We have to remember there was a similar player. Let me say, I'm thinking 10 years ago. Does anyone remember Freddie Adu? Does anyone remember how much hype was behind that kid? Things don't always work out, unfortunately, and this could be another case of that. They have to be careful with the way, or he and his agents need to be careful with the way things are going to work out for him.
Noah, before I get to you, Alexa, you wanted to join in a couple minutes ago?
I was just, yeah, I like the loan prospect. I don't know much about Pulisic, but obviously it's best for the player, I believe, if he stays in Europe, try to develop, maybe stay in a higher tier league, play against high quality opponents and not Caribbean teams. But maybe it would be better for it's obviously nice for the MLS if you were to come to the MLS, but I'm not sure that's what the player really wants or what the player needs in his development.
You know, it's funny. It's one of those things, too. Does the MLS and American soccer, North American soccer, get more popularity by having players that play abroad or players that end up coming back? I'd say, you know what I mean? I'd almost think that having more players abroad and having success abroad is probably the best promotion for a North American league than anything else.
I agree.
I think the MLS is still in the stage where it needs to fill out stadiums, and having a talented player would help fill the stadiums, which is the first step to becoming a league. Yeah,
it's true. Noah, what did you want to say?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with all you guys are saying. You kind of have to walk before you run. I just feel like we kind of, the MLS kind of gets ahead of itself a little bit. Things start going well, and they're like, then they want it all. They want, okay, well, let's have the older guys who come back and the younger guys now. You kind of have to just, pace yourself a little bit. And it's, I mean, maybe I don't follow, Dutch press or Belgian press when maybe they're talking all the time about how their players aren't getting a lot of playing time at particular big clubs. But I feel it's like there's a lot of like American pride going on here. They're like they want their boy to be playing more, and they because it's America, their voice kind of gets louder than others. But I think it's kind of a non-topic in Europe. Like I don't think Dortmund are going to lose any sleep over this. Like they're just like, we have a ton of talented. They have a ton of Pulisic's. Let's put it that way. Like he's not special. He's good, but he's not special, and they just have to get. I think it's more the U.S. has to kind of get over themselves and be like, their guy. He's in a really good system. Be happy about it and ride it out. And they'll come back better. That's it.
Okay. Well, Ronnie, do you have anything to say about that, or actually, Noah touched upon something interesting, which is this idea of either people going away to play in other leagues, or somehow coming back to play in the MLS. Like, I mean, guys like Donovan, we've seen coming back. Is it best for a player to go abroad and learn abroad, or is it best for them to seemingly go get a year of salary and come back?
Well, little fish in a big pond versus big fish in a little pond, right?
Yeah.
It's pretty much what it comes down to, I guess. But kind of feel like if they come here, sure they can be a star. I mean, look at Drogba. It's like he looked amazing the first year, right? I mean, you can tell it's like he's got the pedigree. I mean, would he have developed into that player playing in MLS his entire career? I don't think so. It's like even Donovan, his game improved. I mean, he was promising before he left, but I think when he came back, he just attained a whole other level. I think he got that by playing there and just like playing with the best. It's like you got to play with the best too. It goes back to something that Jason DeVos was saying about Canadian soccer. I'm saying it's like, if you're playing casual and it's not a serious league, well, it's kind of hard to hit that upper level. And like the whole thing about hockey development is you have those levels already at a young age. You're playing like AAA, so they're already separating the guys that are playing for fun versus the guys that are taking it seriously, and that kind of helps you develop.
I actually think that's a really good point because our hockey structure is so segmented and compartmentalized that you have. I mean, I can speak from experience growing up playing hockey here in Montreal. If you're house league, you're there and everybody gets equal playing time and all that kind of stuff. If you're in double letters or you're getting to elite like AAA of any of the age levels, it's competitive. Like these kids want to win just as much as any professional might because they know that everybody else is playing at the same level. It's not a bad idea. You definitely don't see the same kind of, you see a similar structure in soccer in Canada right now, but it's really, I don't think it's across the board by province, for example.
And it's definitely after a certain age. Like it's not happening at 10 years old or 12, that's for sure.
No, yeah, absolutely. Okay, well, let's get to the impact finally. Okay,
Sure.
our bread and butter. Well, there was a quote that came out from the press conference today. Today, by the way, is September 20th for anybody who even cares about that. Anybody listening out there? Anybody? Yeah, Biello was asked a question about leadership, and he responded. It was in French, but I translated it very quickly. He said, "A leader is someone who continues to learn, makes good choices on and off the field." And that seemed to catch a lot of people off guard. Because in a way, it does sound like he's talking about somebody in particular. But who is that person? I mean, are we talking about the leadership core, which I'm assuming would be Piatti, Drogba, Simon, our most talented players?
Well, you could add. I mean, they call the leaders Kamara, Bernier, and Drogba. I think is how they generally talk about the leaders. But those are, I mean, two of those guys. Like one of those guys is kind of like the. I mean, I wouldn't call them mascots, but I mean, Burnley doesn't really play. He's kind of like the Yoda of the team, He's sort of like everyone respects him. He's like he kind of gets them going. I don't know, but it's like you said. It's like the leadership should be your best players, Sima, Piatti, and Drogba, in my mind.
But what about the specific mention of being a leader on and off the field? Now, this kind of gave me a bit of a flashback to some, of the Habs years, when you had, Chris Chelios being a leader on the ice, but not really being a leader off the ice, where he was going around partying and all this kind of stuff. He was enjoying the city and the nightlife much more than showing up to practice on time. Is there somebody in particular that's fulfilling that kind of negative role model in the team? I don't see it, but you guys do.
I don't see it either, but I mean, if he's talking about anyone in specific, it's going to be Didier Drogba. That quote right there really sounds like it's directed directly at him. It sounds like they want him to be much more than what he is. They want him to take a leadership role, also be the superstar of the team, and I'm not sure if Didier wants to take a leadership role on this team. I think he's more than happy with allowing Kamara and Bernier and Seaman take that veil. But I also wanted to point out that Biello should really listen to his own advice, because is someone himself who has stopped learning himself. He's developed what I like to call Frank Klopas syndrome. He's become stagnant. He's become boring. He doesn't have any of that creativity that he showcased with this team last year and at the beginning of the season. And if there's really anyone that needs to learn how to lead a team, right now it's Coach Biello.
That's a pretty interesting point, though, because actually I focus much more on the end of the quote. But when you do say a leader is someone who continues to learn, that's assuming that, you have somebody who already has a lot of experience and somebody who has potentially, over the past short time, missed out on opportunities to learn or improve. That could be Drogba. Alexi, you stuck up your hand there.
Yeah, the moment I heard it, my first reaction was Drogba. Just because the continues to learn is Piatti. There's a dribbling he can always improve. He averages 2-point-something dribbles, and there's always bring it up from this, bring it up. But for me, it's just Drogba. Sometimes it looks like he's essentially a coach on the pitch, not really implicated, but more interested in telling everyone else what to do. But yeah, my first reaction was just Drogba continue to learn. He had the game where he missed the penalty, and his walk up to the penalty for me was really weird. Like the one step back, kind of really telegraphing it.
Yeah. Well, it's funny you mention it. In the past 2-3 games, aside from the one in which he, actually including the one in which he was not starting, his body language was all over the place. I mean, he was walking around the field. Admittedly, yes, okay, he's a forward and isn't expected to exert that much energy, especially when we don't have the ball. But my God, he did not look like he even wanted to play soccer that day.
No, sometimes like I remember the game where he just tried hitting it from the middle of the pitch twice. For me, that's even if it's against the Union, and people have pointed out that Blake stays off his line.
Yeah.
You had Piatti on the counter. It's just not acceptable to just boot the ball away for a goal kick. But also, if you remember when Drogba came in, one of his main attack in Montreal was the French speaking. That's really, I think, what sold it to him. But he also said he does not want to come to a team where he wants to take a leadership role. Do you guys remember that when he first came?
Yeah.
Like, he does not want to be a captain, but it looks like he's being a coach more than a captain. So I'm confused there. What do you guys think?
Well, maybe the room is confused as well. Ronnie, what do you think?
Well, yeah, like if I may, like you brought up like excellent points there. Think about Drogba coming over and like the whole like French thing influenced it, and he specifically said he wanted his kids to be raised somewhere that was like French speaking. He wanted them to take part in that. But from what I've heard in the media, it's like apparently his kids aren't even here. They haven't even been here at all.
His family's in London.
Yeah, like they never actually came. So like one of the main reasons, like he said, is he wanted his kids to grow up in a French-speaking city. Isn't even the case. So okay, so maybe it was just a bit of fluff. But going back to the quote, I actually saw the quote when I turned over and looked at my phone while I was in the meeting, and I just saw the quote without actually knowing who said it, and I thought it came from a reporter or something. And my first thought was I thought they were talking about Biello. And then I realized, oh, it was Biello that said it. I was like, okay. But for me, it's like the person that I think isn't really leading right now, like seeing the team play. I mean, I think Biello, first off. And like, I mean, then obviously like the Drogba thing as well. I mean, because like he's nowhere near the player or the presence he was last year. Like last year he was in the media, he was present, he was there. And like you were saying, I mean, you see him on the field, the body language, it's like, there's a lot of forwards that have that, but Drogba wasn't, I don't know, it's different. It's not the same Drogba. Like, sure, age plays into it, but there's something in the presence. It's not there, the passion, the drive. Like, the free kicks, like, he doesn't seem, I don't know, just something missing, a little something.
Yeah, actually, if I can give you an example, I was just in Toronto this past weekend, right? And I was able to catch the Toronto FC Red Bulls match, okay? Now, Toronto FC, they don't have necessarily a Drogba. They have a Jovinko, but he's at a very different stage in his career. But they have a couple other elder statesmen, right? Other guys who have a significant amount of talent, perhaps have been on the down curve of their career. Look at a guy like Bradley, okay? The amount of effort this guy puts out on the field is pretty impressive. And he was intense. He was yelling at people. He was getting in the play. If you could have seen him, you can look at all the set pieces that they ended up having. I believe it was in the second half for the most part. He was exchanging them with Altidore. Okay, Altidore was taking the direct kicks. He was taking the indirect ones. But my God, he was pointing people around. He was being active on the field. Drogba does not look active whatsoever. And frankly, I'm hard pressed to pick out a particular player on the Impact that shows that much. Perhaps Simon, admittedly, he does yell, yeah, but does not seemingly show a lot of effort in the past couple of games. What do you guys think about Simon in particular? Our backline has a whole bunch of issues. We can jump to that if you guys want.
Sure. I mean, I completely agree with what you just said. Seaman, at least in the last couple, since he's come back from the Euros, really, he loves to yell and bark, but his game is not backing it up. In other years, last year specifically, you would see him make an incredible play, get up, and then just yell at everybody that made a mistake. He had that fiery passion to correct everyone else's mistakes because he knew that if not for him, that ends up in a goal against. But this season, he seems to be doing the same thing without having the game to back it up. So I mean, why do it? If you're not going to be the one producing, why are you yelling? That's all I have to say.
Yeah, I guess if you're going to walk the walk, talk the talk, or talk the talk, walk the walk. I also, some people have mentioned that there seems to be something going on with him and Bush. I'm not sure. Have you guys seen anything there?
There's always
Someone left-
something between him and Bush. They're just both yelling at each other 24/7. But maybe behind the scenes they just love each other. I don't know.
Yelling or blaming each other?
I know
Yeah,
someone left.
maybe. Something to keep in mind also. I was a goalkeeper, for example. You were always yelling at your back line, and especially your central defenders, non-stop. And after the game, you're shaking their hands. So I don't know if there's a whole lot to look into there, but I'm assuming it's fine.
I know on one of my articles, someone left a comment saying that they thought they said Sima saying F you, F off the Bush, but I rewatched this segment where he mentioned it. I didn't see anything. Just
Honestly,
someone who left a comment.
honestly, if that's what was mouthed or said, that is probably the most innocent thing that could be said between a goalkeeper and a defender. So I honestly, I don't think too much of it, unless, of course, Simon, as he is known to do, will do an interview and speak very frankly and say that out in the open, but I highly doubt it. Noah, today you were talking about in the chat, you were talking about a handful of defensive issues that we've been seeing and potential positional changes or solutions that we could see coming up. What in particular did you see?
Can I just add just one more thing about the last topic?
Yeah, of course.
I just wanted to say that what I've been really disappointed with from Piatti, Sima, and Drogba, probably Sima and Drogba most, because I guess Piatti, he always sort of plays the same. He doesn't really change the way he acts. He kind of does his thing out there. I just feel like the last few games when we've fallen behind in the games we've lost, I just feel that's where it's a guy like Sima or Drogba who should be, like, I don't know, getting guys back on the same page and trying to get back in the game. But I feel like those two players in particular, they're the ones who kind of start to freelance and kind of like their focus on the pitch, and they stop playing within the system, I find. And that's a real problem. And like you're saying, the body language of both Sima and Drogba has been really poor. Really poor. There's like a lack of accountability, I find, as well. So,
Well, I mean,
yeah.
look at those videos, right? The videos they post, Impact Media posts, yeah, Shaq Victoire, right? And we get a behind-the-scenes look into the locker room. How motivated are you by Bielo's speeches?
Not at all.
Honestly,
Kind of cringe.
not at all.
yeah.
I mean-
and like I'll say again, like Ronnie said earlier, when I saw that quote, I was like, this must be about Biello, you know. Got to keep learning all that. I was like, this has got to be for Biello, and then I'm like, oh, Biello's. I thought the exact same thing. But you know, let's face it, he can only do so much when his huge star players are just not. They're not giving her they're not like, you know, like when you fall behind in a game, that's when you will. Of course, you do need a coach who gets everyone back on the same page. Maybe, yeah, at halftime, you're right. Those halftime speeches, like, can you imagine when you're down a goal or two at halftime and Biello gives a speech and he's like, so we're gonna, do some stuff. Got a good idea of what I wanted. Like, he just seems like he's so ineffectual. You're right.
It's not even that. It's his speeches about heart. It's his speeches about courage. It's his speeches about leaving it all on the field. This is bullshit. These guys are all adults. They're professionals. They're paid, many of them, over several hundreds of thousands of dollars to compete in this league. They don't need to. They're not. It's not like you imagine a professional sitting down on the bench, having the coach say, "Oh, leave it on the field." Oh shit, that's a great idea. How did I not think of that
That's
myself?
it. All they want to hear is tactical. Tell us, give us the plan. What's the plan?
Exactly. There's got to be a tool somewhere that he has in his belt to manage the game better than what's been going on. And I'm not sure he has the capacity to do that, the skills to do that. And even so, the players are maybe waiting for him to do that and don't see it either.
And also, we're talking about like managing the game, but how about the season? I mean, biggest red flag for me, and I'm actually like, I like Biello. I think he had a lot of potential. He was young, but I actually saw something in there. He seemed to, have something. But biggest red flag for me early in the season, even before the season started, in preseason, he comes out and says, new system, I want attacking fullbacks. I want the fullbacks running all the way up and providing more offense. And I was like, man, if there's one thing you do not touch from last year, it was the defense. The back four was the most solid part of the team. It's like, why are we even talking about like new defensive system? I mean, it's just, come on, like, man, it was the one thing that didn't have to change. And I mean, we still see it today. Like, Toya is not last year's Toya. Oyongo, sure, he's going more forward, but I mean, at the cost of wrecking our midfield and center backs, you know? It's just, I don't know, I don't get it.
Actually, that's another really good point. I mean, admittedly, I can say the same thing. I like Biello. I do. And we're only judging him based on what we can see and the lack of success we've had over the past 2 months, which, quite frankly, has led to some of the most, non-entertaining games I've ever seen. And some of the worst situational and tactical collapses that I've seen from this team for 3-4 years. Maybe the first year of the MLS when it was really, really ugly. But this leads in really well. We were talking about lineups and positioning just the other day. Oyongo is a really good topic of debate. Him pressing and things like that, what kind of consequences do we have there? Donadell especially, because I believe he's on the same side. Is that correct?
Donadell usually plays a little on the left or mid.
Yeah. Well, this debate between Oyongo and Toya, Noah, you had a point to be made about that earlier today. What did you want to talk about?
I'm not the only one either. I feel like I may have been the only one early in the year, but I feel like you hear it a lot now on Twitter. Well, the simple fact is that both Oyongo and Toya are both left backs, and last year they predominantly played a slightly more defensive system with Toya playing left back and Oyongo on right back. And Oyongo's offense was not as good playing at right back, but overall the defense was much better. Now you have Toya playing right back this year and Oyongo at left back, and I mean, let's face it, how much has actually been created from Oyongo's left back position? Have there been many, many goals created from his crosses and his play on the ball? I'm not really that certain. For sure, the offense looks better, but to me, right now, if Yellow gets home and he has to ask himself, like, what's the biggest problem with the team? Defense, 100% defense. This would be something that could be a quick fix. Putting Toya back at left back, Oyongo at right back, see how much the offense suffers, and maybe see the defense kind of get back into form a little bit, because if they want to do anything in the playoffs, their defense has to be so much better.
I mean, I kind of disagree with you in a little bit, for a little bit there with what you were saying. And listen, having your fullbacks attack is one of my favorite things when it comes to watching soccer. I love watching two attacking fullbacks running up and down the pitch trying to score goals. Or my favorite team, Barcelona, that's all they do. But if you're going to do this, you need to make sure that you have the personnel to do it. And
a 4-3-3.
That includes holding defensive midfielders. Look at Barcelona. Barcelona is the class of attacking fullbacks. You have two guys that run up and down the field, or at least last year they did. They had Dani Alves and Jordi Alba. And then you have a holding midfielder in Sergio Busquets, who has the capability to come back with defense, have a three-man line in case of counterattacks. You look at Montreal, yeah, Donny Toya is defensively superior to any other fullback we have, but he can't run up and down the pitch. He can't attack, unfortunately for him. You look at Oyongo, he can do it. You look at Amadou Dia, he can do it. Hell, you even look at Eric Miller, who we had at the start of the year. He could have done it. But for some reason, Biello decides to start Toya and Oyongo, which, sure, absolutely, last season worked wonderfully. But if you're going to employ this system, that's not the right duo to have out there. And to make matters worse, you have Donadell out there who just does not look right this season. He looks like either A, he's disinterested, or B, he's just lost a step. You need to make sure you have the personnel to run this style of attack. And if you don't, Noah's right. Change it. Find another way to score goals.
I think that's a really good point. Just to correct myself from before, at least from the lineup against the Revolution, we had Toya on the right-hand side with Donadell, on that side with Ontivero. And Oyongo was on the other side with Bernardello and shit. Alexi, did you want to join in on this?
I was just before. I don't listen much to the Daniel Shekman posted by the Montreal Impact. But I was just wondering what you guys said about the speeches. It kind of sounds like my Pee Wee hockey coaches at like intermission, and it's just like there's a difference between Pee Wee hockey and the MLS. And
depends who you ask.
You would hope so.
Yeah. But with the fullbacks, it's Toya is evidently the best fullback we have, best defensive fullback we have, and Oyongo the best offensive fullback. But Toya can't play as a central defender because he's 5'6" something, so he just doesn't have the height. If you think Cabrera is bad in the air, Toya would be like one step up from there. Like we saw in the other game, he was trying to cover Kai Kamara, who's 6'2" and probably the best aerial player in the league.
That goal.
And it was 24 seconds in. Kai Kamara scored. This is Donny Toya.
I mean,
So, it's Donny Toya. Do you see a future for him? Do you see us changing systems to fit the great Donny Toya? I don't see Donny Toya being a player you change systems for.
No.
But Oyongo isn't a player you change systems for either.
well,
So,
like I said I guess a week and a half ago, I wanted them to try Amadou Dia on the right, and he doesn't seem to have the defensive chops. I think it's worth trying. See, not so bad, coming inside and curling it in with his left foot, on the right side. It just seems like a worthwhile venture to at least try and see, because, like I said, it doesn't seem like we're having a lot of difficulty scoring goals. Let's face it. It's like offense is not.
just so I know, we've kind of lost you. Just an idea here.
Yeah, go ahead,
Noah,
Alexa.
are you?
Alexa, go ahead.
I
Yeah.
know it's not something that many MLS teams do. You see Toronto do it every once in a while, but playing three at the back. We have Simon, we have Camaro who can play center back, and then we have Lefebvre and Cabrera who can play center back. What do you guys think? Play three at the back, and then you have Oyongo who can play as a left wing, left midfielder. An idea? What do you guys think?
I think less defensive responsibility for Oyongo could be interesting, because I mean, how often is it that we actually get to see his speed and control? It's maybe maximum 3-4 times a game, whereas if he's left open a bit more by playing a wing position, we could start seeing that much more regularly. You could start seeing some pretty maybe organized breakouts and counterattacks. I don't know.
It just seems like it's too late in the year to try
Yeah.
that kind of experiment. But I did think about it early in the year, and I thought, that could be. I actually thought about it when Tissot was still here. I thought he made for a pretty good wing back. A guy who doesn't have to deal too much defensively, but offensively he has some chops. He has some good crossing ability. But I feel like Oyongo is better than him defensively. But like I said, I think it's a bit too late in the year to try a 3-5-2. But next year maybe.
Right. Well, without spending too much time on last week and positions, etc., hopefully we have something nice to look forward to this weekend. But of course, if you look at our schedule, who are we facing? We are in New York against the Red Bulls, who I just saw play quite an entertaining game against Toronto FC in Toronto. 6 goals scored. It was very offensive, very well organized, tactically clean. There's still a bit of sloppiness like you typically see in most MLS games, but I thought that one was particularly highly skilled from the 2 top teams in our conference. What are we to expect from this weekend?
That's in one word. That's what it is. But listen, the Impact got to figure out what's going on with their team before they can even consider winning a game away against one of the better teams in MLS. If they're going to play anything like they've played in the last month, we're going to get run out of New York so bad, just so fast. It's going to be a disaster if we're going to play the same way. And I mean, if this team doesn't turn it around soon, I think there's 5 games left on the schedule, all of them being against pretty tough teams. there's a chance, and a pretty large one at that they're not even going to make the playoffs. Which, with a roster like this, that is
Embarrassing.
bad. Embarrassing. That's the right word.
Absolutely. I'll be honest with you. Looking at the performances we've had over the past few weeks and the defensive collapses we've seen, when we have a player like Wright Phillips on fire, there is no chance. There is no chance. I mean, even with the talent that we have on our back line, we can't say we don't because there is talent there. There's something wrong with the structure and tactics involved with our defensive play that is leading to these, I can't even say late game collapses because they're typically happening right at the beginning of the second half.
24th second as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I just think overall, like, you know, it's kind of too late in the game to start changing up tactics. I was even my idea of switching Toya and Ayungo, it's almost too late. You just have to, for me, it's all about, you know, having the right mentality going into the game and being like, you know, even if we fall behind, let's stick with the game plan. We know we have the talent. I just feel like that's what we've seen lately. It's like they just, when things don't go perfect, they just kind of give up. They kind of lose focus, and the next thing you know, they're down 2-3 goals, and they're like, oh, well, now what are we gonna do? And you know, they need the big guys to step up. You know, Drogba's got to start the game like with real intent. Otherwise, they're gonna get owned again.
I think that's a really good point, though. I mean, Ronnie, do you agree with that? That the talent is there,
Absolutely.
but that the mentality isn't. That there's just a lack of motivation somewhere, and that's what is stopping us from performing.
For sure. I mean, it's not a question of lineup anymore. I think at this point, it's just a question of system and synergy. You know, it's like we're not sure of the system. It's like you can tell that there's players that are confused out there. And synergy, I mean, it's just not coming together. You know, it's like you look at defensive mids. We look great with Bernardell and Donadell. I mean, on paper, that looks amazing. And our back line, I mean, man, it was the best. It was the quality of MLS in 2015. And then you got Drogba up top. I mean, Piatti on the left. It's like, man, just fill in the blanks at right and attacking mid. It's like, just put anybody, man. We got the depth. We got the team there. And it's just not happening, though. There's no transition from defense to offense, from offense to defense. It's just not there.
Well, seemingly, we can win goal or save of the week every week, but still not come out with a win, which I think tells you something. I think that we do have the talent on the team to finish. We have the talent on the team to have some breakout moments, some highlight moments, but we just can't play a full game. Alexi, what do you think? What are you looking forward to this weekend?
Oh, this weekend?
Yeah.
Oh, sure. Halftime. No, I don't think it's going to be a pretty game. I think our only chances go back to the last thing that worked. If we go back to the last time we played good soccer, it was in Toronto. And when we just sat with 10 men behind the ball. And I saw a bit of the game, and from what I saw there, it was New York had really nice passing, like between the lines. From what I saw, I'm not sure if you guys saw anything different. But I think if we just, I'd be like ecstatic to draw at Red Bull Arena. Personally, that'd be enough for me, more than enough. So if we just sit back and hope for a quick counter. But on the other hand, we don't have Mancusi on top. We'd be playing a counter with Drogba on top, which is always interesting. Because Mancusi, if you guys have heard, there's a report that has something with his back and might miss the game.
Yeah, he's questionable. That's right.
Boy as well.
Yeah. So I think we just have to try to sit back, fill up the space, not let Kleston dissect our back four like he can do, and just try to get something quickly counter up top, and a draw would be more than enough for me.
I'll be honest with you, at the game that I saw at BMO Field on Sunday, the weaknesses, I'll be very honest, are nowhere close to the front lines. The weaknesses are the back line and the communication with the goalkeeper. When you look at some of the goals that came up this past weekend, a lot of times, yeah, it was just a kerfuffle, kind of miscommunications, slightly bad defending, but Toronto and and New York are two teams that finish. They're not teams that you're going to face like any bottom-feeding teams that basically might get the opportunities throughout the game, but won't actually finish them because they don't have the quality up top. These guys do. Do you guys have any news on whether or not Jovinko is coming back? Because he missed the game again on Sunday.
From what I heard on the MLS, there's talk about him playing on Sunday, the game you're at.
Right,
so
yeah.
If there's talk about him being there for that game, it's probable he's there for whatever game Toronto's playing next.
Yeah, I think you're right. So maybe we'll have one of the league leaders back this weekend as well. Just to end off, we can take a quick look at the lineup. I'm figuring our back line's going to stay the same. So we got Toya, Kamara. If Toya is healthy. Toya, Kamara, Simon, and Oyongo. But Noah, this could give you the opportunity, if Toya does not start, that we could see Dia come into the lineup again.
Yeah, that makes sense to me, but I have a feeling, if you guys remember, halftime substitution last game.
Yep.
Kamara came on, and Kamara went, guess where? Back to right back.
He was just dying to play Cabrera again.
I would actually be, what at least surprised me is that Cabrera and Sima are partnered up again, and Kamara's out wide at right back again. That just, I have a feeling. I have a feeling that's what it's going to look like. But, I mean, I would prefer to see Dia at right back and Oyongo at left. But, I feel like Biello deep down really likes Kamara at right back for whatever reason. Yeah.
I'm not sure I want to see Dia in his second start versus the New York Red Bulls at home. I would feel like he just might get absolutely trounced upon.
Well, I'll just say this quickly. I felt like his first 20 minutes were quite awful, but he grew into the game a little bit. It was...
Yes.
You don't want to write him off completely.
No.
And let's face it, this may be not a bad time on the road when your defense is already struggling to put a guy in there where the expectations might not be so high. It's not like he's coming to a clean sheet defense here. It's like he'll just tell him, play your role, and if we do better than giving up 3 goals from last week, you're already ahead of the game. This might not be a bad time to bring him in.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Javier, what about our midfield? So we had Donadel and Bernardello, right? Bernardello has been starting our past, I think it's 4 games since he was in shape after the transfer.
Correct.
Could there be a change in our midfield now that we were talking about Donadel not performing? Can we see Malice coming back?
Listen, what Ronnie said before is correct. On paper, Bernardello and Donadel is amazing, and it should work. But Donadel is just not there. But with that being said, Donadel just not being there, I'll take that over Callum Malice and Kyle Becker coming in and starting a full 90 minutes. Well, I take Callum Malice and Kyle Becker coming in the last 30 for Donadel. If he's sucking wind at the end, then yeah, sure, not an issue, but not the start. Please, no, not the start.
You agree with that, Ronnie?
Yeah, I kind of stick with Donadel and Bernardello. We've seen Donadel hit some slumps in the past 2 years, but he always picks it up. There's quality under there. It's nobody shows up every game. I still think that he's pretty solid. I wouldn't give up on him just yet.
I think that a lot of these bigger names and more experienced guys too, I think they gain a bit of motivation by playing in cities like New York. You have a good fan base there. It's going to be a happening stadium. It's going to be a good, challenging game. Maybe they get up in the morning and they find a bit more energy. What about our front line? So we had Ontivero, Piatti, Ship being the one significant change over the past couple of weeks. And Drogba up front, of course, after he sat a game. Are we going to see a change in that offensive front line? No? No way, you're shaking your head.
Listen, when they were winning, it was Drogba and Oduro. As much as I despise Oduro last year, he seems to function you have to you got to take advantage of what little chemistry there is on this team. And if you have a couple of guys that seem to work well together, stick with it. it's kind of weird how I was a huge Onivero fan at the beginning of the year, and I was like, oh, play him every game, and then they kind of didn't. And now they're playing him, and it's like this weird. Time really showed that he's helping the team win games. So I don't know why they're going away from what little does work. So yeah, I mean, like I said earlier, Drogba has to show up. He's got to pick up his game. He has to win us some games, and I would never bench him now. It's just ridiculous. Like, he has to be our guy. He is the main guy on the team. So I'm sticking with him. And if we lose with them, well, at least.
Sorry, no, I think we might have lost you again. You cut out.
That's okay. We lost him right at his most important point. I thought that was particularly good.
The suspense is killing me.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's okay. Go ahead, Alexi.
I was just at one point in Soccer Canada's currently tied 1-1. Ryan McDonald just scored for Canada to make it 1-1 the World Cup of Hockey.
Oh, wicked. Good news. Good news from another sport. Thanks for crossing the divide. Let's just cover that last point, okay? Well, what I really want to focus on is just two particular positions, okay? We have Ontivero and Ship that are playing forward on the wings, right? Piatti and Drogba are going to start. I highly doubt, I think we can all agree that that's going to happen. But it's those wing positions that we've been seeing a lot of rotation. Who else could be in there? Are we going to see somebody take Ship's place? Did he perform okay against the Revolution? Not really.
Is it time for Venegas again?
Maybe Venegas again. That's.
I mean, it's musical chairs, right? It has been all year.
Right.
You're right.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't think it matters. I know that sounds kind of like just a little defeatist, but to me, if Piatti and Drogba are on, the other guys will just naturally be on as well. You need to have the big guys just perform, and everyone gains confidence from them performing. You know, it's like if Onivero's having an on game and Drogba and Piatti are not like alive at the wheel, it's awake at the wheel. It's like it doesn't matter. Onivero's not going to take over the game.
No.
You know, so I don't think it matters.
I think something that's particularly important to keep reminding ourselves is that when you look at a lineup like you do have against the Revolution past weekend, and you realize that on our left-hand side, our biggest attacking threat is Oyongo. How easy is it for teams to tactically set up against us? I mean, admittedly, Piatti being on the far left and then cutting into the middle at least was a bit more of an attacking mindset on that left-hand side where you probably the opposing team felt like they had to cover both evenly. But now they all know it's going to be coming on the right.
On the right, first against a New York team that's probably going to be searching to dominate possession and break us down, I'd like to see Oduro start on the right. A player who can definitely play the can if he's getting himself in the space, which we actually haven't seen much of. He's a speed player. He's running behind the lines. Oduro, that's it.
I think he's done better than anyone else this year as well.
Well, what did you say, Ronnie?
I think, I mean, I can't believe I'm saying it. Like, I would have said this in the beginning of the year, but I do think Oduro probably did deliver more than anyone else on the right this year.
Well,
that's right.
I find lately he's not quite asking for enough balls. He's not getting himself into enough positions. But I'd like to see him on the counter. I'd also like to see Piatti go back out to the left mid, because I think that's where Piatti is the most dangerous. It's where he played, I think, in San Lorenzo. And then it's like...
I think...
No,
No, go ahead, Noah.
Yeah, I think they start him in the middle, but I think he mostly plays out wide. Maybe last game he was more central, I'm not sure. But I agree. I find actually that Oduro is the player that has stuck with the game plan in every game he's played. Like, he's played his role properly, and he hasn't altered his game. He hasn't started to, you know, I don't know, he hasn't freelanced as much as the other players on the pitch. And I think that's part of the problem. There needs to be more players like him who just know what their role is and stick to it for 90 minutes. So I agree. I think he needs to be a player down the stretch because having a good year. You know,
Any closing comments from you guys before we check out of this first podcast?
Just play soccer, guys.
Yeah.
Go out there and have some fun. Try to score some goals.
You sound like Yellow. You
Yeah,
sound
I
like
know.
Yellow. Now I realize what the problem is.
Yeah.
Everybody has just become so overwhelmed by the
Score
defeat.
goal, play deep.
That's what it is, though. That's what it is. It's you got to get back to the basics. Just go out there and have some fun. Stop thinking so much. Just go out and do stuff. That's all I have to say.
Do stuff.
Do stuff.
Thank you,
Coach
Alexi.
Gonzalez.
Alexi, how about you?
We're playing against a very good team, a team that's played good soccer recently, and I think we just need to try to execute a game plan. We still need to trust the coach. We still need to trust Biel, and stick to that game plan. We don't need, if we go down a goal, it's something we're prepared for, right? It's something that we have to imagine can happen as a possibility, and we just have to stick to the game plan. We don't need to, oh my God, we're down a goal. Let's just give the ball to Drogba and hope he does something. We need to stick to, hopefully, whatever game plan we've set up. And if that's sitting back defensively or trying to bring it to New York, we just have to keep on going, and well, good luck.
Noah, how about you?
Honestly, like I'm at a point where I just want to see them have the right mentality and go into the game and just play, play the right way, win or lose. At this point, I'm not gonna be a fanboy and be like, I just want to win. I just want to see them play properly, And yeah, and like Alexi say, like listen to the coach, listen to his game plan. He's trying clearly to make them play the way he wants. Like, that's it. Win or lose, have the right mentality.
Ronnie, last word?
I want to be confident. I want to be positive, but it's going to be rough. Playing Red Bull Stadium, they're one of the better teams. They seem to show up down the stretch. They're pretty balanced. Their center backs are healthy again. Midfield is like one of the strongest and probably most stable over the past couple of years. They're still playing the same three midfield they've had for the past 2 years. It's gonna be a big challenge.
A little bit of positivity, guys. Jesus Christ. Get some,
So what do you think, Matt?
get some smiles on your faces, for Christ's sake. Well, okay, what do I think about this coming weekend? I just saw the Red Bulls play. I have to say that they do have weaknesses. They are sound. They are structurally sound. They are not found out of position seemingly ever. But I do believe that we have the talent on the team to counter them. Do I think that it's going to happen this weekend? I don't know. With the amount of effort that I've seen them leave on the field, I don't know. And frankly, I think I'm going to agree with Noah on this one. And Javier, really. If I can see them put out a good effort, win, lose, or draw, I'm happy.
Yep.
And because I think that sorry guys to ruin this for you, but we're not going to win the MLS Cup this year. We're not. So
Hot take.
wake up and terribly sorry for that message. But we're not going to win the MLS Cup this year, which means that if we do stay in a playoff spot, we're going to crawl in. We're probably going to lose in the first and second round if we're lucky. I'm okay with that. Our guys need playoff experience. But right now, I just want to see that we can have some sort of cohesive system and guys that can carry out for 90 minutes. And I think that's what I'd be happy to see over this weekend. You guys agree? That good? Can I get some nods?
Yeah,
Yep.
definitely.
We agree.
All right, we got some nods. Now I think everybody's hungry. So thank you everybody for checking in this week with the designated players. Please make sure that you keep track of our Mount Royal Soccer articles. Thank you to everybody, Alexi, Javier, Noah, Ronnie. Thank you for checking in this week. Next
Later.
week, we should have another podcast up on Tuesday or Wednesday. We will see you after the next game. Take care, guys. Have a good night.